because I believe, like most Israelis, that the way in which the events of the last weeks were portrayed were distorting of reality. And this was not, from my point of view, and again, you know, this is a good starting point in terms of contradictory narratives, because we can't agree on the most basic facts. It's not that we don't agree on how to interpret the same facts. We're looking at two totally different stories. The Israeli story of these last weeks is that you had a mob of tens of thousands of people incited by a genocidally minded organization trying to rush across our borders, and with this dream of return, which is for Israelis a euphemism or not quite an explicit vision of Israel's destruction. And on the Israeli side, a very careful and measured response. Now that is not at all how it played out here. But if you eavesdrop on the internal Israeli conversation, that's a very normative way of how Israelis saw the events of these last weeks. So not only was this not a story about peaceful demonstrators being indiscriminately killed by Israelis, but that this was one of those classic moments of disconnect where the overwhelming majority of Israelis saw reality one way, and much of the international community saw reality another, to say nothing of how Palestinians and the Arab and Muslim world saw reality. So it's a good starting point in that sense for identifying the problem. And the problem, again, is how do you have a conversation when we can't even agree about what actually happened, let alone what that means?
Well, you agreed to do this conversation, and I know you've been in conversation with Yossi. Was it difficult to make the choice to do that? And are you coming from a different space narratively on this?
Honestly, this is not what this is experience is I'm very familiar to it. In 2014, when the war happened in the border in Gaza, in 2012, I met a very good Israeli friend, and we started a nonprofit together. And right after the war in 2014, we were supposed to go.
Speak more directly into the microphone.
Okay. So in 2014, we had a speaking tour to raise funds for the nonprofit we just started. So I'm calling my friend in Israel, to see what's happening, where is he standing, and he